But back to, why you need to go with an attorney who specializes in personal injury is because they'll know about insurance coverage and insurance policies and any sort of excess or umbrella coverage that might be available. It's unfortunate that the driver, and this is more in the context of not a commercial truck driver, but just somebody driving their personal vehicle. And, there's a minimum amount of insurance coverage and there's no other policy left. That does happen, right? But if you hire an attorney who focuses and specializes in personal injury law, they're going to dig as deep as they can to find out whether there's any other insurance coverage available.
Welcome to the Throne of Wealth, the podcast that empowers you to reign over your financial future. Each episode brings you tax strategies, wealth building insights, and stories from inspiring entrepreneurs. The Throne of Wealth is brought to you by King of Kings Accounting Firm, where financial challenges become opportunities for growth. Let's get into it.
Hi, welcome to the Throne of Wealth. We're so honored to have today a guest speaker. He started his practice serving the community, serving those that are injured, representing those that need legal representation. Robert, welcome to our podcast today, and thank you for being here with us today.
Yeah, Karen, thank you so much. The honor is all mine.
I am so delighted to learn more about what you do, the big why of your firm, and why are you different than many other law firms out there, and how are you serving the clients in the space, of the legal representation?
Yeah, great question. So when I started the practice, I've been practicing for almost 9 years now, and my goal was to start a personal injury firm that was client focused and really leverage technology to bring better client service. And so for me, when I was, starting the firm, I wanted to see, well, what was the best case management software out there? What are the top attorneys in the field using to basically, stay ahead? And deliver better client service. So for me, going with Filevine as the case management system was really a no-brainer because they're really at the top of the game as far as utilizing AI. They're constantly innovating, and for me, it just their software and what they do. It just allows me to do a better job to run things more efficiently with the practice, to deliver, top-end client service. And it's a boutique practice. So it's not a volume-based practice where, we take everything that comes in the door. It's really focusing on catastrophic injury, wrongful death cases, serious injury cases, but ensuring that we're always delivering that high level of client service. For me, I'm very hands-on, so I give every client my cell phone number. And I say, hey, if you ever need to get in contact with me, you can call the office, you can call my cell, text me, I'll text you right back. Filevine has the ability where you can text the client through the actual file. And all those texts get put into the file so you can keep track of those correspondence. But I always give clients my cell phone number, and I know they appreciate it because they appreciate the constant communication with them, and it shows that you care about their case and care about them. So that's my approach to the practice.
Wow, what inspired you to be the founder of your own firm and not work for someone else or do something else? Why law?
Why law? So I'll kind of give you, a little bit of backstory about how I got into personal injury. So right before I started law school, I was a law clerk at a small personal injury firm outside of Boston. And before that, I had no experience or knowledge of the law and how things work, particularly in this field. So I started doing that and really enjoyed working with clients and helping people who are injured versus being on the other side, which is representing big corporations and insurance companies. That really wasn't something that spoke to me. And then beyond that, my mother, so she was a victim in a drunk driving accident a few years before I was born. And she suffered a traumatic brain injury, and she survived. But I saw the impact of how traumatic brain injuries affect people throughout the course of their life, and how it affects families. So I really wanted to be an advocate for people who were injured and fight for them. So it's all those things that keep me inspired, keep me going to do the best job that I can for people. So
wow, that's huge. So that takes me back to the next question, Rob. What would be the one of the biggest you yourself experienced it at some point, and it was an impactful moment. I would say, a lot of psychological trauma, in addition to what the family goes through. What would be that one mistake that you'll say that, people like me, right, that we don't practice law, we don't know what to do in the event, of an accident, or when something like this happens, or with a relative or a friend, someone that is closest to us, like in my case, or with even a client, right? What would be one of the biggest mistakes that you have seen that injury victims often make after an accident?
So there's a few, and it's through no fault of the person. The first mistake I would say is not calling a lawyer right away. There's a couple reasons why you want to do that. One is, you don't want the insurance company just reaching out to you and saying, hey, I heard about your bad accident. Well, here, we'll give you X amount of dollars today if you settle your case, right? And you're in a very vulnerable position at that point, particularly if you suffer a brain injury, right? You're dealing with post-concussion syndrome, all of that. And you sign some release that gets you a small amount of money, yet your case could have been worth 7-8 figures, right? But again, you don't know because you don't have any idea of case values and what the insurance company's doing, right? Second mistake that I see is people who don't get medical treatment right away, because when there's a delay in medical treatment, the insurance company uses that to say, well, you must not really be that injured, because if you were, you would go to the hospital, you'd have follow-up visits with your doctor. That just makes the claim more difficult than it needs to be. So putting any sort of case aside, you just shouldn't ignore any sort of symptoms anyway. You should seek medical advice and talk with a medical professional. The next mistake that I see people make is posting on social media. That does come back to bite people. And you might think it's some innocent posts, but that gets twisted, and the insurance company can use that as leverage later on in the case. And then lastly, I would say, going with the wrong attorney or the wrong firm. And what I mean by that is, going with a law firm that doesn't specialize in personal injury, okay, like a general practice. Or you just call whatever number you see first on TV or a billboard or something. You really should do your research on who you're going to go with, and if it's the right fit for you. And it depends on just what you're looking for as far as the client experience. And not all personal injury lawyers are the same. So you want to do your research as best you can. For me, it's again, not a volume-based practice, so it's really digging into the cases, litigating the cases, trying the cases if they have to go to trial, but making sure that every client gets the attention that they deserve, because it's their case, it's their life, and that's my approach. But yeah, I would say definitely you want to do your research on who you're going to go with.
Wow, that's impactful. I have not intentionally, or I will say, thought about this before, but now that you were saying, choosing the right attorney, choosing doing your research. So when I was 19, I was expecting our first baby. Me and my husband, who's now my partner here in the firm as well. Uh, at that time, I didn't know any better. And so I was about 7 months pregnant, and this truck, commercial car, came and T-boned us. And so he made our car do like a full U-turn. And, it was such an impact that we end up in the other side of the road. And he did a left in an area that it was a clear sign, no left turn. And so we took pictures, videos, and all of that. Long story short, not knowing, not doing research, not contacting the right practice. 7 months off of pregnancy, I got 5 herniated discs due to that. Yeah, it was bad.
Yeah, it's
My
really bad.
husband was a driver, and he received most of the impact until today's day. His knee, it's not, it's giving him problems. We settled the case for $1,400.
Oh, how much was it?
$1,400.
Oh, jeez.
Exactly. So now
Wow.
that I hear all of this, and it was so many years ago, obviously, so nothing we can do to go back. But it's just so sad. It is such a sad story because after that I had so much pain in my lower back. Our baby could have died in that accident. I mean,
Yeah.
so many things could have happened because somebody was just decided to go and turn on a road that they weren't supposed to. And going back to it, there were deep pockets, there were commercial, but it just, I think,
Wow.
not knowing what to do and what you're saying right now, make sure you do your research, make sure you contact not a general practice, but someone that specializes in these type of cases is very, very important.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm sorry to hear you went through that, and that was the result of your case and what you experienced. It's horrible to hear that happened to you. But back to why you need to go with an attorney who specializes in personal injury, is because they'll know about insurance coverage and insurance policies. And any sort of excess or umbrella coverage that might be available. And there are certainly cases where, it's unfortunate that the driver, and this is more in the context of not a commercial truck driver, but just somebody driving their personal vehicle. And there's a minimum amount of insurance coverage, and there's no other policy left. That does happen, right? But if you hire an attorney who focuses and specializes in personal injury law, they're going to dig as deep as they can to find out whether there's any other insurance coverage available for your case. So that's the difference as far as hiring a personal injury lawyer who specializes in that area of practice versus a general practitioner.
That's huge. Rob, and many personal injury firms, run high value of models. Why do you choose a more boutique, hands-on approach?
Because it allows me to deliver a high level of client service and to dig into the cases, litigate the cases the way they need to be litigated, and take those cases to trial. If and this is just my opinion, with volume-based practice, I think it's a lot more difficult to be able to deliver that same level of client service. And that is because you have so many files that you're working on, that you can only dedicate so much time to each file. If you're slammed with 100 cases or 100 case files, and then your staff gets spread too thin, and I think just all around, it becomes more difficult to deliver that high level of client service. So for me, anytime I take a case on, I evaluate it and see if it's a good fit for the firm. But always keeping in mind, okay, how is this going to impact the time that I spend on, the other cases that I have and fighting for those clients. So, it's always keeping that in mind.
Wow. Yeah. Can you share a case that reflects the philosophy of courage and compassion of your firm?
Yeah, I can tell you. So I can give you some case examples just of, cases that I've worked over the last, close to a decade now. So I won't get into too many specifics, but I've handled wrongful death cases, catastrophic injury cases, and a recent case that I had, it involved a family and a baby who's they were all injured in a really catastrophic accident. Fortunately, nobody died, but for me, it the high level of client service was always checking in with the client just to say hello and see how they're doing, right? And pretty much every week, right? Just texting, setting up phone calls, knowing birthdays, all of that. It goes a long way, right? But it's the constant communication with the client, okay, that makes the big difference. And that's why I give out my cell phone number, right? Because we live in a world now where, most people text, right? So it's so much, people would rather text in a lot of cases than versus making a phone call, right? So, just it doesn't take that much effort to just say, hey, how are you doing? Right. So that was a case where I was lead counsel and litigated that case all the way through. It settled for the policy limits, which was it was millions of dollars, but it was and what I tell people is the money, no matter what the amount of money is, as long as it's a fair offer, a reasonable offer that you can recommend, and everybody's on board with it, great. But it's not like it's a win at the end of the day. Like somebody's life was still impacted. It's not like, hey, congratulations, right? That's not. I hear some lawyers congratulate their clients on settlements, and I'm like, there's no trophy that was.
Yeah.
Right. Somebody's life was impacted, and I bet if you gave them a choice between, hey, I can give you this money, or you could go back and maybe change your life so this never happened. They would rather have their old life back.
Yeah, 100%.
So there's that case, and then recently I litigated a case up to settlement with a traumatic brain injury victim. And in that case, again, it was the same type of client service, which was just checking in with the client, texting, calling, hey, how you doing? And trust me, it goes a long way, because it shows that you care. And if you do care, you're going to deliver that high level of client service. So.
Yeah, going what you were saying, it's not a celebration. The compensation, the settlement, I think it's just compensating for some of that time, but the trauma that you have to go through. And I'm speaking for myself, right? From a personal experience, my daughter is about to turn 18, and I am thankful to the Lord that recently, about a year or two ago, my pain kind of started going away, but this is something that I have to deal with, right? So people that gets, injured in this type of, cases or scenarios that are more severe, it's understanding the families, what they're going through kind of thing, and having that similarity. This is huge, what you do for them. And having that touch, it's really important because it's personalized. They don't become a number, or just a file with a name in your office kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. And I never want to, be that or do that. And, going back to, when it comes to, the celebration, it always just irks me when I see attorneys go on social media and they post the check, that was sent, or they get that big, whatever fake check, and they're standing next to the client and everybody's smiling. And it's, again, if you're getting hundreds of thousands of dollars or millions of dollars, it's you were injured, right? And your life was impacted. So I don't think anybody, people are relieved at the end of the day if the case resolves, because they can move on with their life from the case, not that they're moving on from their injuries and the trauma. But, there's no like high-fiving or anything like that, right? And even if you win a trial, it's still a lot of emotion, a lot of work that goes into it. And, it's the client kind of, basically, reliving that trauma at trial, because you're hearing all the, facts of what happened, and they have to testify, and family members testify, and the defendants testify, and you've got, doctors and experts. So, if you win a trial, I mean, it's great to celebrate that win. But still, at the end of the day, the client's, life was affected, and they can't go back in time to change what happened.
Yeah, this is impactful from the standpoint of view of us, law firm owner, Rob, and an entrepreneur, and running a practice on a day-to-day basis. What would be one of those experience or advice that you would like to share with the audience today? Because I have a lot of my followers are business owners, people running a company on a day-to-day basis, and not only do they need legal representation, but in addition to that, it's like those ins and outs or experience that other entrepreneurs have gone through, right, and how they have overcome those challenges.
Yeah, it's well, first, it takes time to grow, right? And you're going to have some growing pains, and there's frustrations along the way. I guess my first piece of advice to anybody starting their own practice is you really want to make sure that's what you want to do, because it's a lot of work, right? And not just starting your own law firm, but to any business in general, right? The time that you spend, and it's really, it's a grind, and it's not Monday through Friday, it's every day, and you're always thinking about the business and how to improve it and grow it. A big thing is you really want to, I think, be protective of your time as much as you can. So making sure that you block things off in your calendar, right? As best you can. And things happen throughout the day, and you got to shift things around. But trying to keep a written list of your goals and things you want to accomplish, and things that are on your plate, as far as tasks. What needs to be done now versus what needs to be done or can be done later, right? Prioritizing your tasks. Those are big. And really just trying to, whatever, if it's a law firm or business, again, this is just how I do it, and my belief is really try to find the latest technology that you can use to streamline your business and your practice, because that's going to free up some time for you that would otherwise be spent, I guess, doing things the old school way.
Yeah.
So really try to do your research and figure out, hey, presently, is there a better way to do this, right? And if you can do that, then I think it's going to really line you up for success at the end of the day. I mean, for me, in that first year, it's a lot of growing pains, like I said, but fortunately, we've had a very good first year, and continuing to grow. So super excited about the future. But yeah, that's what I would say is just do your research, try to lean into technology, and know that the success, it's not going to happen overnight, and you just got to keep working at it. So
that's great. How can people find you, Rob?
Yes, so you can find me a couple of ways. I do have my own Instagram page. The website is lionheartlaw.com, so LIONHART law.com. Email is rob@lionheartlaw.com. I'm super responsive when it comes to emails, so if anybody reaches out or DMs me through Instagram, I'll respond. Those are usually the best ways to get in touch with me. And the law firm number, 855-343-0997. We've got locations in Boston and Atlanta right now. Looking to grow beyond that. But yeah, those are the best ways to get in touch.
So if you're in the Atlanta or Boston area, reach out to Rob, and you will personalize a response back to this client or whomever reach out to you. This is great, Rob. It's great. Is there anything or any advice that you want to give to the audience before we hang off?
Yeah, I would say just believe in yourself. And if you're willing to do the work and put in the work and the hours and all of that, you will have success. But also, focus on building relationships with colleagues. Find some mentorship, and you'll do very well.
This is amazing. Thank you so much for your time, for everything that you shared with us today, and your big why, which is very impressive, and the way that you tailor your services to the clients and you serve your clients. It's amazing as well. And again, thank you, Rob. I hope we can do this again, and you can share more information, more insights about results of cases and wins that you have to share with our audience. But thank you.
Yeah, thank you, Karen. It was great. Really enjoyed being on the podcast.
Thanks for listening to The Throne of Wealth. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review to help others find the show. A special thanks to our sponsor, King of Kings Accounting Firm, dedicated to helping you build and protect wealth for generations. Until next time, take the reins of your financial future and lead with confidence.